Ever see that guy who walks in the gym already lifting more than you, even though he's barely trained? And you think, man, I'm never going to catch up. Well, here's the truth. For building muscle, how strong you start doesn't matter nearly as much as how strong you become over time over a given rep range. That's called progressive overload, and it's the real driver of hypertrophy. All right, progressive overload isn't just adding weights to the bar every week. Okay, it's more than that. You can look at it in various different aspects. Okay, we can add more load, more reps to the same load, better execution and control, so stricter form. You never want to let your form get too loose. Shorter rest while keeping performance high, and overall just increasing the stress. In hypertrophy training, the goal isn't about hitting 1 rep maxes. We're not in there to be powerlifters. We're there to grow muscle. So we want to get stronger in the rep ranges that actually grow muscle. So about 6 to 12, 6 to 50, even 6 to 20 is better than other rep ranges, and it will help grow muscles. I have the bottom at around 6 there because any lower than that, you tend to get into areas where you could cause some damage, there's higher injury risk, put it that way. All right, so I try to keep it about that. But why does relative progress beat natural strength? Well, I mean, natural strength is natural, right? Some people are going to walk into the gym already benching 225 or squatting 315 or whatever. It's mostly genetics, limb lengths, muscle fiber distribution, nervous system efficiency. But hypertrophy really doesn't care about where you start. It cares about where you get to. All right. So if you have, let's say you have 2 lifters. Okay. Lifter A starts benching 225 for 8 reps. And after 2 years, you can do 245 for 8. Lifter B starts lower, 135 for 8 reps. And after 2 years, he can do 205 for 8. Guess what? Lifter B has probably gained a lot more muscle in that process because they increased the tension, forcing adaptation across that rep range, that progressive overload. So it doesn't really matter about how much you started at, but how far you went, how much your progress was. That's where your progressive overload is. That's where your muscle size is going to come from. All right. Now, physiologically, why does this happen? There's a bunch of stuff, but when you're progressively overloading your muscles, you force your muscle fibers to adapt. Everything in bodybuilding is about adaptation, right? So doing this adds contractile proteins, both actin and myosin, increases cross-sectional area, improves force production at any given rep range. The nervous system also has become more efficient, which is why you get usually big jumps in strength in the beginning of your training career, because that's the fastest adaptation, nervous system. But when you get more muscle fiber thickness over time, that's what's really going to drive muscle size. Okay, and that takes time and progressive overload over years, of course. Okay, now strength across rep ranges. Why do I say rep ranges? Chasing low rep PRs is great for powerlifting, but not so much for hypertrophy. And it also does have injury risk. All right, heavy sets of 5 to 8 is going to give you hypertrophy, of course. 8 to 12, the classic range, is kind of like the sweet spot, between hypertrophy training and maybe getting into more like endurance type training. But even higher sets, 12 to 20 reps, as long as they're taken close to failure, and in certain muscle groups they handle high reps, delts and quads for one, will give you the hypertrophy goals you're looking for. If you go from curling 25s for 10 to curling 40s for 10, your arms are going to get bigger. It's really as simple as that. It doesn't matter how much you were able to pick up and move when you first went in the gym. It's about how you've adapted over time. So again, this is a long game. I always say it. I mean, it takes time. All right. So training over years and years, that's why you shouldn't be caring about how strong somebody is. I mean, we all know people who are freaky strong, just naturally, right? But if that freaky strong person stays freaky strong like that, they don't push themselves with progressive overload over time. They don't try to hit more weights, more reps in perfect form over the years. They're not going to accumulate more muscle tissue. But if you start, weaker than them, like I did, a lot of guys, and increase those weights over time, keep your form tight, perfectly controlled, optimal, add more reps. Over time, you will grow muscle, okay? Again, it's not so much about where you started, but about where you end up. It's the process. It's the adaptation over time that makes the body grow more muscle. All right. It's always about adaptation. Okay. And time, of course. All right. So, you know, how do you make sense of all this? First of all, I mean, I always say track your lifts, have a logbook. You got to know what you did last week, the week before, last month, and what's your goal for next week. Okay. One more rep, one more small plate added to the end of the bar, whatever it is, it has to be an increase, has to be producing overload to stimulate adaptation. Okay. Add reps, but don't go too high, of course, and don't go too low. If you feel like you're adding too much weight too fast and the reps are dropping down too low, be careful of that, especially as you get older like myself. The reps are too low, you're really risking injury. So be careful of that, right? Keep them higher. I myself never fail below 10 on my working sets because I just think that's a good place to be. To guarantee sufficient load, but not to be inducing risky stresses. Okay. And never, ever, ever, when you go for those heavy reps, sacrifice form. Okay. As soon as your form starts going, as soon as you start bringing in other muscles, ancillary areas or momentum or something like that into the movement, you're not overloading anymore. Okay. You're actually reducing load. Okay. So remember, the body doesn't care about what's on the plate or the dumbbell or the stack or whatever. It cares about how much load it feels. So strict, perfect form is the way to ensure consistent increases in load, no matter what, is on the bar. And like I mentioned earlier too, like you can increase load, you can overload by getting more strict. If your form is sloppy, just tightening up your form, becoming super strict over time will create progressive overload. And that's probably the safest way to do it and probably a good place to set your baseline. Okay. So consider all these things, play the long game, give yourself time. Progressive overload takes a lot of time. But the most important thing to remember is that it's the process. It's the journey. Okay. It's not just about starting out really strong. Genetically, people are strong, but becoming stronger over time, becoming stronger over a certain amount of reps, becoming stronger with perfect form will grow muscle. That's the secret to hypertrophy right there. Keep it up over time. You guarantee you're going to see results. Okay. Until next time, take it easy, guys. Happy training. Cheers. Bye-bye.